Alright, this is a preliminary test on my new stove idea that I just had the other day. Let me find some alcohol. So these are potential tubes coming out from a center circle around the stove like this. I don't know if 8 tubes, 5 tubes, 6 tubes. I haven't given much thought. These are just aluminum tubing. They're, I don't know, 1/4 inch deep, 1/2 inch wide, something like that. Just for some initial tests to see how the carbon felt works in a tube environment. This one has a very thin piece of carbon felt, not encompassing the whole tube. Same for this one, a very thin piece of carbon felt, not encompassing the whole tube. This one has 2 thin pieces of carbon felt encompassing the whole tube, but not the entire height of the tube, so we're below a little bit. So let's a couple initial tests to see what does what. And I kind of want to do it with them together at the base here to see if this all becomes one lump of fire down here, or if they each stay their own channel, and to see how much flame we get off each one. So I'm just going to do like I'm doing here, pour some alcohol on this stuff, make a mess all around it, because now I will have to wipe that up. Or I will have a mess of fire everywhere, so I'll wipe it up real quick here, and light this up and see how this is affected. Yeah, I'm in a mess there. I'm going to wipe all the extra alcohol off the table here and realign them in that same fashion, just so that doesn't affect the way they are reacting to the fire around them. I'm going to put the big one on the one end and not in the middle, the one with 2 pieces of carbon felt in it on the end here, to see if I get a different effect off of one end or the other. And I'm going to turn off the lights before I fire this all up, just so we can get an idea of what happens when we light it. Let's see if we got a little bit. We can see that still. That's fine. Alright. I think it's high time I went out and got a new lighter. This one's about had it, but I think we'll get it to start. And as I say that, we won't. So it didn't really shoot across. Yeah, we're kind of leaking out the end a little bit. I'm hoping that won't melt my, it is supposed to be a heat-proof silicone mat, so we'll see if it burns it or not. There's kind of the effect we're getting. Not what I thought we'd get. I thought we'd get a little more height on the flame. Maybe vaporization isn't going on as fast as... There we go. There's the vaporization that I thought we'd get once it started going and gets hot. So there is definitely oxygen getting in between each chamber, and these are pretty long. I wasn't actually thinking about going this long or that wide. The single ones seem to have a taller flame than the double one does, so that's good. It is odd that I'm getting a single flame out of the middle of this one and dual flames out of the end of the one over these two over here. So they are affecting each other in some ways. Let me see if I'm burning. Yeah, I'm burning that a little bit there. Probably should have put that on top of something besides just silicone. If I keep moving it around a little bit, it won't burn it too bad. It is fiberglass inside of the silicone, so. But it doesn't seem to be bunching up too much in the center. I mean, the flame's coming right down to there, and right down to there, and right down to there, and right out. So that, in theory, is doing what I thought it would do. It create channels of flame. I guess the real thing is, we know that the carbon felt will wick it up from the center. As long as we keep feeding it fuel, it'll keep wicking it into here. Because the carbon felt works as a really good wick. So, yeah, I think that proves that it will work. I didn't get the height that I wanted. We're not adding fuel, so they're burning down. We are getting heat all the way out, and I think potential anyway. I'll have to play with it a little more and see the actual idea with the overflow channel and stuff that I wanted to do. One piece of carbon felt with an overflow channel around the outside of it. May or may not work. We'll see. But that was just a test run to see how carbon felt works in a aluminum extruded tube. And the double one tend to stay level flame throughout the whole thing, and I'll look at the video a little more here, and the single strand that wasn't filling the area, or the channel, had lumps of flame going up and down depending on where I'm guessing the felt was touching the metal or not touching the metal. So anyways, it's a viable idea anyway. Next time I run that, I'll run it on top of something else besides this. We'll get a couple more of these channels cut. This is obviously a little long, you know, if you got a stove that's 6.5 inches across, just like that, and you stack about 8 of these things around here like I had in my picture, and you get yourself a nice big base to a stove. So the idea with that other stove I had worked a little bit like Tinny from Mini Bull Designs ideas, where the top changes out. So maybe you build one that has a 2-inch flower, maybe you build one that has a 3-inch flower, and you build one that has a 4 or 5-inch flower for huge pots. Now, the top of that stand is not going to hold your pot, because these are not going to have a lot of weight structure to them, especially with that small base on them. You'd have to have some kind of outer pins coming up or something for a pot stand. So anyways, just my first test run on the stove idea. Just wanted to see if it was a viable idea and if it would work with these channels. Obviously that was the easiest method I could do, was to build a channel out of aluminum extrusion and put a piece of carbon felt in there and see what I got. And that worked, so since that did what I thought it was going to do, it's on to the next step. I'm not sure if I'm going to take these and work with these as my channels. I don't have a mill, so obviously I can't mill the whole thing out like I showed in my pictures, which, you know, would have been potentially a great idea, but I do have, you know, this. I have some tubing. Maybe I can put a tube inside of this cut in half, and this could be my overflow channel. Do a little of that aluminum weld on the end of one of these, close it up. On the other end, I could potentially put it into one of my aluminum pipes that I have and create a center like on one of my magnetic stoves. Although these circles in this are not very big, I don't know how many of these tubes I could fit into this, around it, or I should say. Probably not 8 as I had in the picture. So, it's just a start. If you guys have any ideas on where to go from here, and if it even seems like a viable idea, just let me know. Alright, take it easy.